俺だよ、ワリオだよ。出るんだよ。その名はワリオランド。ゲームボーイで海賊相手に大暴れ。金貨いっぱいウハウハだよ。空飛び、火を吐く。敵か味方かワリオ。
I grew up a rather strange child. Most kids, when playing Mario games, like Mario the best. It's only natural. I mean, it's Mario, what's not to like? Younger siblings and offbeat players like Luigi over Mario, he played differently, and has more of a personality. But no, not me. I gravitated towards Wario. For some reason, there was something about this strangely colored, crude, greedy, smelly man that I just loved. His extreme personality and strength. He was a greedy bastard and loved it, never giving up no matter how often he failed. Plus, he had a cooler mustache. I always picked him in any game that would let me. I still remember when I saw him in the Smash Bros. Brawl trailer. I was so excited to finally be able to play him in there. So that in mind, whenever I saw any Wario games, I jumped at the chance to play them. Wario World was my first experience with the main franchise, if most people consider that part of the main franchise. I do, because World is just a step up from Land. I mean, look at the Mario games. It counts, whatever. I used to love that game as a kid. It was just a fun beat-em-up with a weird-ass aura. That off-color experimental aura the Wario games always have. The enemies were nothing like Mario enemies. The worlds were all distinct, and the bosses were hella weird. So after that, I obsessed over finding all the Wario Land games. And what did I find? Well, for the most part, what I'm gonna tell you I think about it today rings true to my former self. I mean, when my ex-wife and her boyfriend kicked me out, I left behind my memories, my brother's ashes and some clothes, but I did remember to take my copies of Wario Land with me. But before we talk about the first game, here's a bit of backstory on Wario's first outing. If you just want to skip to the game part, just use the time code. Wario made his first appearance in the game preceding this one, Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins. He was designed by Hiroji Kiyotake, one of the directors and graphic designers of not only the Mario Land games, but many others as well, most notably Metroid. Yeah, that's right, the guy who created Wario also created Samus Aran. Who would have thought? For Mario Land 2, Kiyotake and his team wanted to develop something a little different from the other Mario games. They wanted Mario to have a new objective, something that wasn't focused on the princess and was more of a personal goal for Mario. This led to the idea of Wario. As I'm sure most of you watching this know, Wario was meant to be Mario's opposite in every way. A greedy, self-centered person to contrast Mario's altruistic and positive personality. With that in mind, it's that classic little piece of trivia you see everywhere. His name was derived from a Japanese word meaning bad, warui. Combining that with Mario's name made for a funny name in Japan, and just a weird name overseas. After deciding on his name, Yoichi Kotabe, the lead artist of the Mario franchise at the time, came in to help finalize Wario's design. Seeing as Kiyotake pictured Mario and Wario's dynamics as that of Popeye and Bluto, well, taking in consideration Mario kind of spawned from Popeye, as well as taking inspiration from Stromboli, the evil circus owner from Pinocchio, we can more clearly see how Wario ended up looking and acting as he does. Thus, a star was born, doubling as one of the few things that managed to transcend the Mario Land series into main canon. In fact, Wario was such a hit with the team when Kiyotake was asked to sum up Super Mario Land 2 in one sentence, he said Wario's big debut. The fondness for the character is probably what led to the team deciding to make Wario the star of the sequel, which leads us to the main topic of this video. Super Mario Land 3? Wario Land, released in 1994. Yeah, Nintendo did that weird thing where they kind of staple on more well-known franchises' name onto the new spin-off game, you know? Like how the subtitle for Yoshi's Island is Super Mario World 2. We all know goddamn well it's not really a part of the Mario World franchise, but hey, they need to sell copies. And properly introducing the character to people who might not trust the new character taking the reins if they haven't played the last one. Speaking of the last game, as with almost all games of this era, the story is told mostly through the manual, and it follows as such. At the end of Mario Land 2, Mario took back his castle from Wario after collecting the 6 golden coins and delivering him a solid ass-kicking. We still don't know how or why Mario had a castle. I guess my parents were telling the truth when they said I should go to trade school. Then again, Mario's kind of been living in a shack with his brother ever since that game, so who knows. Anyways, even after his defeat, Wario was not discouraged in his quest to become better than Mario. You heard rumors of a group of pirates named the Black Sugar Gang, led by Captain Syrup, stealing a giant golden statue of Princess Peach. Although Mario is on the hunt to retrieve the statue, Wario, being the confident, studly man he is, figures that if he can get to the statue first, he can cash it in and buy himself a castle even bigger than Mario's. So he embarks on a mission, stealing any pirate's treasure and gold coins he finds along the way. After traversing several worlds, Wario defeats the pirates and arrives at their home base to face Captain Syrup. She turns out to have a magic lamp. Yep, she has a genie under her control. That's convenient. Though apparently not even magic matches up to Wario's pecs, as he gains control of the genie's lamp and defeats it, alongside Captain Syrup. Syrup, ever the good sport, decides to bomb her entire goddamn base to the ground in the hopes of killing Wario as a last resort. He escapes, of course, and as the castle crumbles to the ground, we discover the giant Peach statue was the base of their castle all along. I shit you not, mere seconds after discovering this, Mario appears with what must be a mythical magnet he was adventuring for that can lift any amount of metal into the sky with ease. He thanks Wario for the assist and flies off to get some pussy points with Peach he'll never be able to cash. Though Wario's plan failed, he still had the genie's lamp. Upon rubbing it, Wario wishes for a castle, but the genie tells him he requires money to build it. What kind of shitty genie is this? He's a glorified contractor, not a magical being. No wonder you can kick his ass. Well, regardless of that unrealistic plot point, you can end up with one of 6 different endings. Yeah, 6. For a Game Boy game, that's kinda cool. Depending on how good, or crappy, you are at collecting coins and treasure, you can end up owning a big birdhouse at 10,071 coins or lower, a tree trunk at 40,000 coins, a log cabin at 70,000, a pagoda at 90,000, a giant castle at 99,998, or even an entire goddamn planet at 99,999 coins. And depending on whether you collected all 15 treasures and completed all 40 courses, the planet even has your face carved into it. A reward well pillaged for. Good on you, Wario. I bet Mario doesn't have his own planet. Oh, god damn it. And yeah, that's pretty much it on story. As far as the story set in the Mario universe, this is about as lighthearted and basic as it needs to be. Playing as a villain trying to steal from other villains is a fun concept, and a nice change of pace from playing as Mario all the time. As much as I love Mario, I mean, come on, it gets a little boring playing as a cardboard box. When you know that your character's a greedy asshole, there's more enjoyment in collecting every single little coin and treasure, of which adds a lot of replayability to the game considering there's 6 different endings. Since I'm currently learning how to write segues, please be nice to me, I'm going to move on to the graphics, which are as great as you'd imagine a later Game Boy game by Nintendo themselves would look. The environments and sprites are all well detailed and nice to look at. I also really love Wario's expressive, dopey face here. Pillaging and shoulder tackling people really are his favorite things in life. I mean, look at that smile. You'll also notice Wario doesn't have a classic cap, but in fact, one of those Safari Explorers hats. Yeah, the artwork for this and the second game depicted him with this hat, and I imagine, again, it was to differentiate him from Mario for his first outing, and also to evoke that sense of treasure hunting. For something impermanent, I think it was a fun choice. As the worlds themselves, I will say more often than not, the background kind of feels barren. I know, it's a Game Boy game, but it wasn't that weak. I've seen some impressive games on the console, and it can make already slightly repetitious level themes feel all the more samey. As for the music that accompanies these graphics, they're either mediocre or forgettable to me. The first stage theme you hear on Rice Beach sounds pretty much what you'd imagine a Wario game sounds like. It has this blundering, mischievous tone without being too much of a drag to listen to. It's pretty fun. But again, it isn't very memorable. I wouldn't be able to hum the track if asked. A good couple of tracks even devolve into Game Boy farts with a backtrack into the background of your mind while you play. That being said, there are a few notable tracks. Course 10 and 33's themes are fun and upbeat. Final's boss music gets you in the mood to fight, and the end credits music is a decent and satisfying concluding tune. Overall, not terribly impressive, but nothing outright terrible either. While I mentioned the music properly represents the protagonist's motives are more unique, especially for a Nintendo game, the game itself is a bit more derivative of the first Mario Land games than future titles. It really is its own beast. For instance, you can jump, crouch, and swim just like Mario can, except there's no dedicated run button. Alongside the lack of a run, Wario has a variety of differences from Mario. If you hold up on the D-pad while you're jumping, you jump slightly higher. You can walk while crouching, and also unlike Mario, Wario doesn't rely solely on jumping to defend himself. In fact, Wario can't even be damaged by enemies unless they're carrying weapons. Regardless of his lack of need for it, I assume Wario's love of wanton violence resulted in the creation of his most famous move, the shoulder ram. You perform this by pressing the B button. With this, Wario can ram almost any goddamn enemy and block, destroying them rather quickly while also doubling as a dash move. You can also gain a decent height and distance if you combine the shoulder ram with your jump. If you take damage, however, Wario reverts to small Wario and loses the ability to shoulder ram. Take damage again and, well, you know. Most of the enemies Wario faces are fairly static. You'd think with enemies posing less of a threat than in the Mario series, it would make them a bit irrelevant, but if anything, it actually makes them more relevant because you have to keep track of how you use them. Sometimes you might need them for later on, for a block path or to more easily kill an enemy that has spikes. As I said before, Wario can jump, and he can jump on spikeless enemies, but this won't kill them. I don't know how, but it doesn't. It will only put them in a helpless state in which Wario can actually pick up his enemies and do, well, pretty much whatever he pleases with them. You can throw them at other enemies, destroy blocks with their bodies, throw them into holes, keep them with you to assert your dominance, whatever you want. In fact, with Wario's sturdiness, you don't even have to jump on enemies. As long as they don't have weapons or sharp edges, you can continuously walk into them and they eventually become helpless and Wario automatically picks them up. Much like the shoulder ram, picking up enemies and throwing them is really satisfying. You can't really charge up your throw or launch them in any direction you want. You can only really throw them in front of you and in a specific arc. So you kinda have to really learn how to aim it. Aside from that, I really enjoy how Wario maneuvers in the air. It feels a bit stiff at first, but once you adjust to it, you realize you have a lot of control over where you end up after each jump. This all makes for pretty satisfying core gameplay while not being a carbon copy of the Wario Land games. Adding to Wario's core moveset are, of course, his own flavor of power-ups. But instead of being mushrooms or flowers, they're all pots. I don't know why, but they just are. Let's not act like mushrooms make any more sense. The first one you'll come across is the Bull Pot. With this, Wario gains a Viking's helmet and becomes Bull Wario, enabling your shoulder ram to go farther and perform a ground pound while pressing down in midair. A full 2 years before Mario had the ability to do it. However, this ground pound's a lot more powerful than Mario's. Wario's ground pound stuns all enemies on screen whenever he does it, as well as break all the blocks beneath him in a row, as long as you hold the button down. He can also destroy blocks in one shoulder ram rather than two. That Viking helmet also isn't just for decoration either. It allows you to stick to ceilings whenever you hold up on the D-pad and you touch your head to the ceiling. The second power-up allows you to become Dragon Wario. When you touch the Dragon Pot, Wario loses a lot of abilities, such as his shoulder ram, and you can no longer cling to ceilings or perform that ground pound, but you do receive a flamethrower, which allows you to tear through blocks and enemies pretty quickly. While underwater, it turns into a laser beam. I really like that they put that attention to detail. Mario may not give a shit about the laws of physics, but Wario does. That's pretty much it, though. Overall, Dragon Wario feels like the weakest of the three, if anything else. It takes away abilities, and Flamethrower doesn't make up enough for it when you consider Bull Wario's shoulder ram already lets you get through blocks easier. Though having an attack underwater is a nice perk, and the levels designed with it in mind can really feel fluid when you get into a flame groove. But whenever the design isn't entirely focused on it, you're waiting to pick up literally anything else. Such as the best power-up in the game, Jet Wario. This form kicks all sorts of ass, and you turn into it by, you guessed it, picking up the Jet Pot. In this form, Wario can shoulder ram through the air by pressing B, flying through almost an entire screen at a time. And even if you let go of the button, his glide has a decent propulsion that goes a far distance. Jet Wario can also allow you to ram underwater and has passive attributes that make you run faster and jump higher. It's pretty much everything you could ever want, except for a ground pound or a caring wife. Overall, I think these powers are pretty fun and varied. Though the Dragon Pot is a bit redundant since it's sort of just an extended shoulder ram that limits your abilities. The Bull Pot and especially the Jet Pot make Wario feel a lot more powerful and makes breezing through levels really fun. A pit platformers fall into is making overly gimmicky power-ups. But in this, they feel like an extension of Wario's abilities. And while the gameplay itself is decently satisfying, how about the level design? Well, that's where things get a bit tricky. Now, aside from some possible grinding, this game came a lot closer to a Metroidvania than a platformer. By no means is it anything complicated or grandiose, but it does focus its design on exploration over Twitch reactions and obstacle course-esque worlds. The courses are over within a second if you decide to blast past them, which exemplifies that it's a game meant to spend time with, rather than conquer through skill. It's not particularly hard, but there are a couple of hidden areas that surprise me, as well as traversing back through a level with proper power-up or while holding a key. Might not be difficult, but it is fun. The level themes themselves do grow a bit stale at times. You're going to be seeing a lot of water, a lot of old temples with overgrowth on them in this game. As for the world themes themselves, we have 7 to choose from. They all reside in this Kitchen Island. You'll be exploring the world map a lot more linearly than you did with Wario Land 2, which allowed you to choose the world you wanted to visit first at your leisure. In each world there are a variety of courses. Rice Beach is your basic first world affair, fairly plain levels with a beach aesthetic. Some barrels here, some wooden posts there, and sand everywhere in between. Though it does have an underground level that you have to ride a pouncer, yes, a pouncer, not a thwomp, to pass through. Although the instant death spikes can be obnoxious. If even a pixel on Wario's body touches one, it's instant death. Mount Teapot starts off with a water level, strangely enough, and then unlike what you would imagine in mountainous areas, say like in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, it isn't all just hills and rail systems. It's actually mostly underwater caves. The cascading water coming down from the ceiling is nice to look at, and the design of the levels themselves isn't too bad, which is uncommon for water levels in a platformer, at least in my opinion. Then again, it being more akin to a Metroidvania could explain why I'm more patient with water here than in a Mario or Sonic game. Sherbet Land is the ice world. Yeah, ice physics in platformers are usually about as fun as the water levels are. They're not. But again, this is not entirely a platformer, so they aren't as painful. Though to be extra cute, I guess, half the levels in here are also underwater, so yeah, thank God this isn't leaning more towards platformer than Metroidvania. That being said, Sherbet Land isn't anything too egregious. There's yucks to be had. Stove Canyon fills the game's lava world quota. It starts off pretty exhilaratingly if you don't notice the lava wall. One minute you're minding your business and then BAM! You're shoving yourself into a crevice and running for your life trying to survive. The rest of the world is about what you'd expect. The lava is a one-hit kill, but I only found that out by testing it. You really shouldn't have any trouble avoiding it. Though the fireballs are pretty annoying since this game follows classic Mario rules. One hit and you revert to small Wario, not regular Wario, which can be pretty frickin' annoying. Aside from that, just some rail carts and lava, nothing out of the ordinary. After that's an alcove leading to the pirate's ship, the SS Teacup. This area consists of a few more water levels and traversing, well, the pirate's ship. At this point you do feel a bit fatigued towards water levels and vine-ridden temple halls, but hey, the ship's cool. It has a ton of doorways and areas to explore, which keeps you entertained despite the level feeling visually repetitive. After defeating what I assume is Captain Syrup's seriously overfed parrot, Wario shoots himself out of a cannon into Parsley Woods. It starts with, you guess it, another water level. Rather than focusing on just a forest though, it is a lot of railroad tracks, which is again refreshing after playing so many Mario games with the same repeating level themes. After the second level, you drain the entire damn lagoon into the alcove. He just loves to destroy, doesn't he? After that is actually one of my favorite levels, Course 33. Which has Wario trek through an active railroad and through train cars. I usually don't care much for auto-scrollers, but this is a fun romp. Another favorite area of mine is one where you swim through a giant flooded tree, which again is a nice change of pace from wooded areas just having spiders and trees in the background. After you get out of the woods, you arrive at the final area, Syrup's Castle. The castle itself moves like an illusion, and the whole place definitely gives off an intimidating aura. It's a standard castle fare with some fun power-up focused layouts that I wish more platformers with power-ups would do. Though the actual final course itself is a bit of a letdown. The game hasn't been very challenging up to this point, and this finale didn't even feel like it wanted to try and fix that. At the end of the day, this is a much more chill game than a platformer usually is, so I don't feel it necessary to harp on the final level for not delivering a hard challenge. In regards to the levels, there are a varying number of them per world, with one being a boss course and others can be specially marked courses signaling that it contains a secret exit. Though strangely enough, the worlds get shorter and more linear as you progress rather than the other way around. Makes it feel like the game's running out of juice by the end when you don't have any more branching paths or as many courses per world. Those branching paths are, as I said, found in specially marked courses. If you manage to find the exit, it usually leads to a stage that allows for easier coin grinding. Although secret exits aren't the only side objective that provides a reason to revisit levels, sprawled across the courses are treasures hidden by the pirates. These are worth a lot and required for the best ending in the game. It's rewarding to find the more well-hidden items, and it rewards your curiosity. Plus, the more treasure you have, the more bonus coins you get at the end of the game without having to grind money courses and the chance minigame. I don't really want to talk about the minigames yet. What else could I talk about? I guess one of the first things you'll notice when playing this game is the bottom of the screen. You know, you have to notice your UI, it's what your life depends on. You have a life counter, a coin counter, and a heart counter, alongside a timer. Unlike coins in previous Mario games, the heart counter is actually what provides you with an extra life. When you collect one heart, it provides 10 points. Once you reach 100 points, you get an extra life. You also gain 1 point for every one enemy you kill. The coins, on the other hand, now serve a different purpose. Scattered about random courses are skull posts, which serve as checkpoints that you can sacrifice 10 coins towards to activate. After you finish a course, you are usually forced to sacrifice 10 coins just to open up the damn thing. And after that, we return to the minigames. After each course, you are given the choice to participate in one of two. Guess I didn't escape it for too long. The first minigame allows you to gamble a 50-50 chance whether or not the bucket you choose has money in it up to 3 times. Guess wrong and a 10-ton weight falls on Wario's head, deducting half of your cash. Guess right and it doubles your money. If you're lucky enough to manage getting it 3 times in a row, the coins add up really quick, especially if you end the level with triple-digit coins. Though the minigame does cap out at 999. The second minigame you can bet different amounts of coins for lower or higher rewards. You have to wait to sync up your attack power and align it with the enemy in the background. If you hit an enemy, it counts as a point, and at the end your points are tallied and you win a prize that corresponds with your total. I won't bother lying to you, the heart minigame is worthless. Throughout the main game, you'll get tons of extra lives. On my first playthrough, I ended up with more than 40 and never saw a game over. One boss in particular showers you with them. Plus, the minigame itself is insanely hard to get right, or maybe I'm just shit, it's kinda hard to tell. Money is a much better reward, so you'll always end up picking that one. Speaking of that boss that gives you a shit ton of lives, at the end of each world is a boss battle. The bosses are definitely more interesting than they are in your average Mario game. Like any good fight, it does require learning a pattern, but just like in the previous Wario Land games, they aren't anything too difficult to learn, and you'll be able to kill them in 2 or 3 minutes. That being said, it's much more satisfying to kill them here than before. Goodness, as soon as they die, it's a mad dash to collect any treasure their bodies start splurting out after they explode. It's really fun, and depending on how much you can collect, you can max out all the coins you can get in the treasure minigame pretty quickly. All the bosses are fairly varied, and ends with you facing a woman, which is a nice change of pace even nowadays. Dr. Eggman and Wario must be good buddies since they're both feminists. Obviously, Wario ain't afraid of hitting a woman, and I'm gonna spin that as a positive. If you go back into previous levels after defeating the boss, sometimes you'll notice the stage has changed. A skull door appears and you have to search the level for a key to open to score some of the pirate's loot. This is really interesting and sort of surprising to see in a Game Boy game when most portable games in this era really let themselves be as simplistic as possible knowing they could get away with it. Take Course 3 for instance, it's completely flooded on revisit. This kind of interactivity with the world isn't limited to just post-boss revisits. Course 24 is all about maneuvering through the level, and activating switches to move around water and gain access to other parts of the level. It may be simple, but it's engaging and entertaining stuff. The exploration for treasure and coins makes it a lot more satisfying to replay levels, even if they haven't changed. Adding on to that is Wario's personality, which again I know isn't anything too complicated, but just like the game not being too complicated, it's fun. And it provides a little extra context that makes collecting treasure and money so much more gratifying than in Mario games. You know every coin means something to Wario, and so you're constantly feeling a sense of progression with every little coin you find. Which I'm sure it's something the developers counted on because like I said before, the game is not hard at all. Almost none of the levels aside from an auto-scroller or two put you in any situations that require quick reflexes in life or death situations. Wario usually has everything under control, so like I mentioned before, even enemies pose no threat if you're patient. Still, whether or not you ending up grinding, being entirely up to luck is pretty lame. But if you explore levels and revisit what you should for treasures and complete all the levels in the first place, 100% is pretty easily attainable. And that being the case, the game ends with Wario triumphantly shuffling back and forth in front of his new home, while that nice little credits tune plays us out. And that's pretty much Wario Land. Overall, if I were to describe this game in one word, it'd be solid. It's a decently lengthy and more nuanced platforming adventure, especially for the Game Boy. That's not to knock the Game Boy, but most of the time they were kind of quick and dirty games that got you through a bus ride home. You know, nothing terribly long or complex, just something straightforward, and it wasn't common that Game Boy games strayed much further than that. But with Wario Land, it feels like they did put in as much as they could for its first full adventure. They were getting used to making a Wario game. That was evident with how many elements were carried over from Wario Land. I do think it's a good choice to not go into a completely new style right off the bat. Or who knows, maybe the series wouldn't have taken off in the first place. As its first outing, this is an incredibly satisfying and refreshing portable game. Especially for the Mario universe, and I expect a lot of gamers felt like that at the time of release, because Wario Land sold decently well. At least decent enough to get 4 sequels, man. 5 if you count World. The levels aren't terribly complicated and a bit short, but that never takes away from how fun and even surprising the exploration and collecting is. The graphics are really great, Wario's moveset is varied and interesting to use, and it's just a fun 2 to 3 hour game that actually has a protagonist with a personality. And goals aside from generic save the princess story. It makes the ending of the game much more satisfying when you know the prize is yours. There's no one to rescue, there's no altruistic reasons for why you did all this. It's just for you, and every once in a while, you gotta treat yourself, right? If there's anything I should take from Wario, it's that. They'll probably don't hit women even in self-defense. You should bail. You should just bail. They won't believe you. Next time, I'm gonna head into Wario Land 2. I don't really remember this one as much as I do 3 and 4, and especially not as much as I remember Shake It or Wario World, so it's gonna be fun revisiting this one. All I remember is that there was a chicken with a pair of tits and an ass in there, and that was, you know, that was something. So we'll find out what that's all about then. Thanks for watching.